Hey folks, this is Noble Rambler, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Banished. This is Banished using the Colonial Charter mod 1.6, and we're kind of going through a little sub-series here of showing what all the buttons do, so that folks that don't have Banished, or if they do, they don't have the Colonial Charter mod, so they don't have the ability to sit down and click on all these and see all the different options, that you can sit back and watch this and get a chance to see it for yourselves. Because in my own gameplay, there's a good chance there's a few of these I may never even get to. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can, but you may not get a chance to see what a fuel refinery is if we end up using a stacks burner to do all that work, or what have you. So, or maybe I just end up using the small one and never get to see the big one placed. So, get a chance to see all the options, and then I promise this episode will get done with this. I had no idea it was going to take this long. I figured I'd just click and show a picture and click and show a picture, but there's so much to talk about with each one that before you know it, an hour has gone by. Now, I try to keep my episodes to around 30 minutes. I fail that a lot, but that's the goal. So they tend to end up at 40 minutes, because at 30 minutes I'm in the middle of something. I want to just finish up a little bit more. Banished is one of those games where you just want to go a little bit further. It's hard to turn it off. Anyway, we were noticing that the wood cutter is the same as in regular Banished. I want to verify that. Get out here, make sure that F doesn't do anything. So no, doesn't do anything. But this is the wood cutter. So if you never really get a chance to look close up, you always see it from a distance, like that. That's interesting. It might be a way to demonstrate something else. See how the ground is all brown in there, whereas here it's the color of the fields. So I'm thinking the transparent fields are kind of like that for the crops and the pastures and whatnot. That it doesn't draw in the groundwork of the pasture or the crops, like this draws in and changes whatever the ground used to look like. Anyway, that is your traditional woodcutter, whereas this one, your chopper, is a small version of it. So it's basically a wood pile and an axe and a chopping block. He doesn't make firewood as fast. I'm trying to remember if it was 1/3 or 1/2 when I did my test game. So 2 or 3 of these equal one of the other ones. However, they take very little space. So if you happen to have a lot more citizens than you have room, then put a couple of these kind of scattered around the map, and wherever you think it would aesthetically look good. It might look good over in, if we had our wood cutter out over here in the town and just had one of these guys, get some space here. The trees are all in the way. One of these just sitting over here next to the woodpile, for instance. So you can just do a little quick processing right there and just keep enough going for the 4 or 5 houses that are in this area. So these guys don't have to walk over here to get where it's stored or what have you. So different uses for the same concept. Bundling shed. Now here, this is going to be something we're going to use quite a bit of. Bundling shed, let's see, it doesn't have a variant, so that's what it looks like. Organics are gathered and cut into usable bundles as fuel for fires. So this is, I believe it takes the corn. Well, I would think corn stalks, but I'm not sure if it actually takes corn out of your corn count to make this, because I don't think there's any way for the game to understand the concept of corn stalks. So it probably grabs corn and turns it into fuel. But in my imagination, it's the corn stalks that they're using. Anyway, it will take reeds, I'm guessing. I think it takes candles. It may even deal with coal. I'm not sure. Well, there's a drop-down menu with quite a few choices as to what you want that building making it out of. And that building only makes it out of that one thing once you make the choice. So if you want to make fire bundles out of several things, you'll have several of these around the map, all with their own specific goal of what they're using. Here is a stack burner. Layered wood or coal is stacked together in piles and burned into fuel from the inside out. A good source of light fuel for heating homes and for working with. I'm thinking what they're trying to describe is charcoal. So I think charcoal is wood that is partially burned and then stopped. And maybe that is done under pressure or done under a low oxygen environment, so that what remains is very flammable and very burnable. Not as long as the original wood would have been, but it burns quickly and hot. So I'm thinking, I'm imagining charcoal coming out of this, and just a slow smoldering fire. Then they cool it off, and what you get left, I'm pretty sure, is going to be charcoal. All right, so let's rotate this around a little bit. Yep, that's got a nice graphic to it. Nice look. Just noticing that chute inside under the roof, kind of a sloped chute from whatever's up above drops down into these bins down below. Then we've got the fuel refinery. Takes burnable natural resources, and again you'll have a drop-down menu to choose which ones you want to use, probably everything that's under the category of fuel, and converts them into hotter, more desirable form of industry smelter for industry smelters. Hotter, longer burning. So these will be called furnace fuels. So something that is able to get much hotter for smelters and probably kilns and whatnot. What does he look like? He's a big building. Rotate him around, and no other choices. So a big stone building. You can see the two, right where my mouse is, the two furnaces and the chimneys up above. And then probably a lot of processing going on inside the building there. And we've got the small version of it. So only one worker can work here, and is slightly less efficient than the larger fuel refinery per person. So same concept, but only for one person. And that's one of the issues with Colonial Charter. In Banished, almost everything is a one-person job. One blacksmith and one wood chopper and what have you. Though you do have 4 in the gathering place and 3 hunters and 4 foresters, but most of the buildings are a one-person job. This mod allows you to create multi-person versions of a concept so that many people can work here. So the same footprint can employ several people rather than many footprints trying to employ the same amount of people. So that's what that building looks like. We're going to dive into luxuries and production. So maybe call this top tier of the production chain. We'll see what's in here. A small tavern. Okay. Provides luxury storage and consumption for your people. This is a small storage and consumption location. So it does 2 purposes. For all the alcohol, luxury, and smoking products, such as pipe tobacco. A worker is not required, but will help move luxuries into the storage for consumption. Alright, so if you have a worker, then they'll move things in to make it available to the public. Otherwise, it's just a normal storage thing that your laborers will drop in. So when in our previous run of Banished, I remember a couple times we had bought ale from a trader, and later I noticed it was still sitting there at the trader, and finally dawned on me it's because I hadn't built the inn yet. And the inn, or the tavern, is where the ale is stored. It's not stored in the storage barns. So this stores those sort of things, as well as creates a place for the public to come in and get them. So we've got a tavern, and I'm thinking that's very similar to the tavern from Vanilla Banished, though it wouldn't have looked the same. It wasn't white, I don't think. Anyway, let's turn that around a little bit here. So a tavern, that's right, I saw a sign there, and there's like a pull tab, is that what you call them, where the beer comes out? Anyway, that's the sign, so that's a tavern. And any change in the description? Looks like the same description. Same one here too. Well, this is a little different. A garden, or inn and a garden. So inn and garden. public inn and garden is a place where people congregate for social merriment of all types. This is a large storage location for all alcohol, luxury, and smoking products such as pipe tobacco, and a worker is not required but will help move luxuries into the storage for consumption. So it will work without an employee if you just want to use it for storage. So this one probably increases the, I've lost it here, turn this off, increases the happiness as well. The merriment, we'll call it. A brewery brews alcohol and makes citizens happy. Created products must go to an inn and garden building for consumption. So do these, for all alcohol, and this is storage for all alcohol, and this says that it has to go to a inn and garden. I assume it would work on all three. We'll have to build one of each and see what the effect is. So this makes the alcohol. Let's see what it look like. So what do these look like? So we saw that one. Did we see this one? We did not see this one. So this is the big one. This is your inn and garden. Lots of places outside for folks to sit and enjoy the company of others. And look at the real fancy stone and wood walls, lattice work in there. And looks like you could have a road going through it, crisscross, right through the middle on both directions. Nice. Barrels and table, and looks like breads and mugs and bottles on the tables. And it's a watering trough there in the bottom right corner for your horse. Nice. So the brewery, got a nice chimney up the middle, and all of the barrels and crates underneath the porch and the deck, the roof. Then we've got the winery, makes wine from grapes and other fruit. I didn't know there were grapes in this game. Okay. The produced wine must be stored at an inn and garden building. So not the inn and garden building, but an inn and garden building. I think that's the way they're trying to say any of those three. So the winery looks a little more, what's the word I want? Tuscan? What first came to my mind when I saw that archway and whatnot. I was picturing the grapevines out the back, like trellises, but actually it is a where you put the grapes in and stomp the berries. Okay, so that's what that is, and no other variants of that one. And a distillery is where grains and other organics are distilled and bottled into spirits. So this is your, I assume this is your beer and ale, and this is your whiskey and what have you. Finished products must be stored at an inn and garden for consumption. So rotate this guy around, roll your barrels in and out up the ramp, and I see there's also a crane that drops down from up above to bring things in. Was there a sign? Can't see through the green. I'm not seeing a sign. Maybe it's because it's not a public place, because it's a place that makes it rather than sells it. That would make sense. So that's your distillery. Now we've got a curing barn. This is where tobacco is air cured into pipe tobacco for smoking, and the finished product has to go to an inn and garden building. All of your big tobacco leaves hanging out there drying. I don't see a chimney, so I don't see that they're using heat or smoke to do it, so it's just air. Okay. And no variant of that. This is the pub kitchen. We'll take a range of ordinary foods and prepare them into a variety of luxury meals popular at taverns. So imagine this sitting next door to this one. Looking at the construction there, those shingles, is that similar? No, a little different. So they're not matching buildings. There it is. So rotate that around. So a pub kitchen. Okay. So you can imagine them making the foods that are then taken over to the pubs to sell to folks. Now we're going to get into the themed sets. And this is where it gets real interesting. So walls and buildings for your shoreline. So let's zoom out here. So we'll see what we can do here. For your shoreline, so a quay building, 2 of them. Oh, button 2, okay. Quay buildings, quayside house, quay barn, quay locker, that's storage, meats and meat products. Barn is for general storage. A warm home for your shoreline. You've got dry storage, cotton, flax, leather, wool, cloth, linen, tobacco leaf. So tobacco leaf rather than tobacco or pipe tobacco. So this is the resource, not the finished product. And fishery. The more water nearby, the more fish is caught. So it's just apparently the same as the regular fishery that you're used to here on the shore. We'll pop into what they look like in a second. The brewery and your walls. So this allows you to create a wharf look to, let's see, let's rotate that around with the poles underneath, you know, to get it up out of the water. Wharf, what do you call the pylons? I'm not sure. There's the logs that go up out of the water. And your barn, so all different buildings. Let's see, do they change their look? They don't. That will come up out of the water. Let me rotate this way. Okay. And the food locker, or the meat locker. So different buildings that will be built up against the water. And then you can take these walls and build them along your shore. And I'm trying to figure out the rotation here. I'm thinking that it's more like that. And just keep building them as wide as you want. So you get a nice wide roadway along the shoreline that these buildings will be built on top of or against. So under building quay wall. So a ghost piece of decorative wall that fits neatly underneath your quay buildings along your shoreline. So this will tuck. It looks like it can be outwards or inward. Okay, so you can use it as to build a whole area up if you want to. You've got curves to take you around corners and right and left curves. So that's neat. So you can create a whole scene there. Additional and decorative pieces. So straights, diagonals. What is this? Road seamless decoration. Okay, so you create your roads with the same graphic. So we've got, looks like many of these pieces are now out here. Quay wall outside piece. Oh, okay, so this is, let me rotate that around. Not sure how that works. I'm guessing it's just an inner curve, inside curve. That's what it is. And this would be an outside curve. Okay. So diagonal, yeah, we've seen that already. Here is a flattening terrain tool. So you can go and flatten an area so it looks better with your walls. So you can sculpt the land with these themed sets to create the look that you're trying to get for your frontier town, or for your Boston wharf, or your, if you're building San Francisco, or whatever you want to do. So we've got so that's it on the, where am I at here? Okay, so this is docks and buildings for your water area. So homes and town services, make sure you have dock platform connected to at least one white strip of wood at the entrance of each building. So got to figure out just what that means. This is right here. There we go. So a dock shanty. Alright, so this sits on this quay walls as well. So a dock home, so you got your little house, your regular house, Dock small market. We'll sit out on the dock. So all the stuff is kind of themed to go together and stick out over the water. Huh. So a whole wharf environment. A water shrine. I read that right? Place of worship for small community. Okay. So a water chapel might be a better word for it. Small school. So if you're... I know there are maps now that are almost entirely on water in this mod. So maybe this is primarily for that usage. So a lot of these we probably will not work. But here's your herb grower. So instead of collecting herbs, you're growing them. Nice. And this is an herb mender. So this is the one that dispenses the herbs that were made at the grower. So we've got here storage and industry. So all the different, we've got dock small storage, so different kinds of storage, wood storage, rice wine still. So this is how they make the wine out on the dock. And you've got your fishery and your reed farm. So all the different dock-oriented versions of what we've seen in all these other tabs. So we'll move on here. Fort and Palisades structures. There we are. So imagine building a fort out in the woods. Here's part of the walls, and with that piece on the upper right side over there, that's where you'd walk along the top of the wall to look out over the spiked boards. Here is a outside corner and an inside corner, and your gate. And so there's two halves of a bigger gate. Doors open and close. And not sure, Palisade inside corner and a Palisade inside corner. There must be a difference in there somewhere. Diagonal walls, so maybe this will work on a slope. Palisade tower. Okay, you got your towers that go along with it. And I think their orientation? No, they're different widths. Okay. And so this entire row is all fitting this theme. So your forward posts, not sure what that was. The description was kind of confusing to me. The post represents one of your military forces' forays into enemy territory. Successful warfare in this area requires guns and proud, colorful uniforms. But as you vanquish your enemies, the post will generate many useful items for your colony, including various lucrative building supplies, valuable artifacts, or rare trade goods captured from the defeated. So I'm not... You'll have to... If you guys know more about this, let me know in the comments. I'm sure that there is not a war simulation in this game. The mechanic is just not there. So is it more for one's imagination that if there were, then this is what you would get from that? Not sure. A musket range is where soldiers will train to be their very best. So shooting, you sit in the tent and shoot out at those signs off to the right side there. You know, this stuff's pretty obvious, but this one was not. It seems to indicate that there's actually a battle that's happening. So I'm sure that there isn't. Blockhouse represents a vital strategic point of garrisoned, a point garrisoned with militia. With appropriate supplies, it should generate a small income of guilders and pfennigs as you tax passerbys and levy tariffs on merchants. Okay. So as they come by, a guard will come out and collect the taxes into your fort or into your region. Native. Oh, wait. Okay, so we're up here. Work camp. There we go. So work camp. The military is not just about warfare. Construction and development of the landscape have always been a responsibility of the military forces in peacetime. This work camp converts basic pay, tools, and the energy of restless garrisons into basic resources. Okay. A parade grounds is a decorative feature. Wow. Let's get back into our clearing up here. There we go. So, what would you imagine there? Weapons and all those shelves, and if we were back, a few hundred years earlier, this is where the jousting would be, is what I'm kind of imagining. We've got a star fort. Okay, so here's your corner of your walls where you've got your cannons. And 4 of those gives you a star or a cross-shaped fort. Uniform maker. So builds the clothing, basically, for your military simulation, if you're doing that with Colonial Charter. A quartermaster is the first and most important piece you must construct when establishing a military presence in a new area. When staffed, military supplies will be brought in a steady stream by agents of your navy. So I wonder if you're using these buildings, if it will actually produce colonists in military uniform. So I've not played with these before. Why is that? Oh, this is a dock. Okay, so it's Navy based. Where is that lake? There we go. So let's R a couple times. Oh, it was there. Okay. Something like that. And again, like another building that we saw, you've got the stairs coming up out of the water to get out of the boat and go in. And you've got your barracks. So, a lot of military-based items to simulate that kind of a game. Tents. So you can create all kinds of real interesting looking scenarios out here. Your tower without fences. Alright, so now we're off to native items. So Native Americans. Get your teepees, your wigwams, your longhouses. Yeah, look at that. Make those out of just slabs out of the side of a tree, putting the curve up as you go so everything sheds water. Bark up. Modular, no, up here. And your totem poles. F? No, F does not change anything in these. That's too bad. Lots. Oh, here, this changes colors, at least in the teepee. At least we have that. Then we get into modular buildings. So, modular residences. This is the modest first level of a planned multi-story building. It provides basic housing. So this guy is your bottom level. Modest house matching the aesthetic of larger multi-story buildings. Any Fs? Yeah, we've got different colors in there. And then this is the second floor, so I'm guessing you can build this on top of the one that's down below it. And that gives you a shed off to the side, as well as this one underneath, I'm guessing, and this one above. And then you can cap it off. See the flat roof there, waiting for the next level. Or you can call this one done. Or you can use that flat one and then put this guy up on top. So each one has their own shed roof off to the side, which means maybe on 3 sides you get those 3 smaller structures wrapping around this stacked house in the middle. So that's real interesting. I'll have to play with that. See what combinations we can come up with. So that is modular residence. Well, we've got a modular version of a food market. I'm only getting just the one item. So maybe each one sits on top of itself. I'm not sure. So, or I wonder if this can build on top of one of these houses? We'll have to figure that out. An urban bakery. There we go. Didn't like my click. First level of a planned multi-story building which produces bakery goods. Oh, I see. So I wonder if you put this or this underneath, and then you can put your second-story house on top of it. So you've got your situation where you have a store down below, and the shopkeeper lives above. Yeah, that might be it. Now we have old buildings, so I'm guessing these are buildings. So is this could be the shore house. That's probably what this is, the shore house from the previous versions of Colonial Banner or Colonial Charter. Maybe this is an old winery, so allowing some for nostalgia some of the buildings that they used to have that they've since changed. That's what I'm guessing here. And the shipyard. So I'll flip that around. So a little different version than the shipyard that there is now. And then you get into the old castle. This is one I was mentioning an episode or two ago, or 3 ago, about I was watching Night Ghost 49 playing, and he rolled a map that looked like this. Let me rotate around. A lake and a big river running down the side here, and a big old fort. And this thing is just a battleship for storage. It is huge. The storage capacity here is like a dozen storage barns, and it will take storage goods as well as stockpile goods, so you can cram it all into here. So it came with that map. If you turn on Colonial Charter 1.6 and scroll down your maps, you've got your small, medium, and large, and then you've got all of your different varieties as you go. At the very bottom of the list is Old Castle. So you can actually build that castle yourself. And so this is not quite the same as these forts. It doesn't quite have the same look. This is frontier, whereas this is more old wood. You can see it's made of stone. So stone is a a Middle Ages European thing after they came back from the Crusades, because out there in the Far East, what they consider the Middle East, they don't have much in the way of wood, so they do a lot of their building with stone or clay. So they came back from the Crusades knowing how to build with stone. And that's when you start seeing your stone castles showing up in Europe. It was after the Crusades. So this kind of has that flavor to it. And like I said, it's just, unfortunately, it doesn't let you live in it. It seems like that would be appropriate, but I'm guessing that Banished just doesn't have the mechanic in the background yet. Maybe that a future upgrade of the core game will allow that to happen, to have an object that associates with storage and associates with living and housing. Probably just don't have the coding in there to put them both together. Maybe eventually this will be a place for a dozen families to live up above, and maybe even some shops, and a tannery in there, and a place, a smokehouse, and who knows all the things you can put into a place like this. In fact, it'd be kind of neat to have a modular system for a castle someday. Kind of get you back into the game. Stronghold? Is that what I'm thinking of? Got it sitting over the shelf over there. Stronghold, Crusader, and all those, where you're building your Fletcher against the wall of your castle, and your armorers, and getting them all inside where they're protected, and bakery. Yeah, all the different things of that game. That was a fun game. That was an old school game. That's probably turn of the century. Anyway, are we done? No, we're at this point here. What is this? Let me read that warning there. Build decorative items in your town. Warning. Many decorative items cannot be selected until all of the resources have been brought to the construction site. So there's another warning somewhere. Was it this one? I thought it was this one. Or maybe it's one of these individually. But there's something here that you can't delete them unless you get in and actually delete the item manually in the code somehow. I'm trying to remember where I read that. Well, maybe it'll come up. Guess we haven't seen it yet. Anyway, so we have statues. So again, this is kind of creating the town exactly the way you want it to look. So rotate that around. We've got a horse statue. We've got a stone charter statue. You've got another one. I see. He's on a llama. And this one is standing. Iron statue. So we got a bell. Jade statue. So Far East looking. You've got a marble statue. Kind of Renaissance looking. Bronze. Flags. Flag of an empire. And I believe F. Yeah, you can choose the flag for your colony. Lots of different choices there. So, did these have choices? They do. Oh, look at that. All the different kinds of bronze statues, of marble statues. No, that one is only one. Jade, only one. Iron. Am I still hitting the F? I am. Stone. So these don't change. Okay. At bronze, you get your first change. Can't zoom in any closer. Flags, all. I'm trying to remember the number that I heard of how many. A couple dozen at least kinds of flags. Cross. I can't zoom in to see it. There it is. So I guess if you want to create a cemetery, and if my voice gets really loud right now, it's because I'm leaning in toward my screen and I'm coming up against my microphone. So if you wanted to create a memorial area, a cemetery where the gravestones don't disappear, maybe you'd use something like that. Build different styles of walls and fences. So here's what you would build around your fenceless crops and pastures and cemeteries and all of the different spaces. So wooden fences, all the different kinds of wooden fences. Don't know if I can really get in there to show you. There it is. I'm hitting the F and it's not changing. So, okay, 3 of them wide, 5 of them wide, and they do not contour to the landscape. So if the ground goes down, the fence does too. So here's where you would need to use your flatten tool, which is going to be in this last option over here. So corner fences, there we go. 3-way corners. Ooh, that's nice. So is that a T? It is a T. Okay. And then a 4-way corner. Oh, that is interesting. We're going to have fun with that. So a fence turn, so that's like a 45 degree, one way or the other. Diagonal fences. Ooh. Too bad I can't click and actually have it drop in. You still got to build them. It still costs you 2 wood, or 2 logs. So wood fence gate. So there's a gate in the middle of that. Just can't really see it. Ah, the F opens it up. I wonder if once it's built you have the ability to open and close it. Any of these others change? They do not. Okay. So that was the one gate. Here is another gate. Okay, so you've got other connecting fences in there. Maybe it's, like for creating a chute for corralling cattle in and then getting them into the gate. A tight fence. A fence piece that can be set against a building. Okay, so you see how the green doesn't extend past the fence post there on the far right? You're allowed to tuck it up against a building nice and tight and have it actually set into the building a little bit and disappear. So it's like the fence is built to the house. Whereas this guy, Well, I guess it's not treating a stone like it would a building. But this kind of has the same look to it. The last post on the right extends past the green, so maybe I'm wrong there. So a fence can be decorative or used to set up paths. Does not flatten the terrain. So different kind of fence. I'm not sure what the difference is there. And then we've got a wooden trellis. Maybe use that in front of your gate. So we've got build wire fences. Let's get a large section of that. There we go. So post and wire. Let's do this one. Oh, that wire looks really thick. Probably the thinnest they could draw it and still discern what it is. Whereas these were like, I'll say 2x6s, but those look quite thick. Almost like, well, we'll say rough sawn 2x6s. We've got here field stone walls. Okay, so the stone that you collect out of the field, building a wall around around an old cemetery or an old pasture, and all the different shapes of those, and the gate. Then you've got here a sturdy stone wall. Oh, I didn't click it. There we go. So taller. Can't really get it up close here because let me scoot myself over. There we go. Go down. Ah, that's much better. So let's pop one of these in down here. There we go. So we can see the wooden wire. And then we can see the wood and plank, we'll say. Let's go down a little further. There we go. And then go back to the field stone. So field stone wall and the sturdy wall. And we've got a colonial wall. Okay, the crisscross. You would probably have this with the fort. So a crisscross of logs, and then I can't zoom in any further. Let's see, I can rotate. Yeah, so that gives you a little better idea with stone underneath it. And a corner. Okay, that's interesting. And the gate. And F opens the gate. Okay, and last choice, build passable wooden fences that your citizens can walk through. So wooden fence, but they can pass through it. Trying to think of when that would be appropriate. If you want to simulate them being able just to hop the fence at a place that's convenient, don't want to force your citizens to walk all the way around when it's so much faster to let them just walk right through it. Yeah, maybe. Then you've got hedges that you can use as fences. Boy, there's a lot of clicks to get there. So all your different hedges and all the different patterns. Yeah. So your English gardens that you want to simulate in your posh and luxurious part of the city. Floral hedges. Nice. So same thing with flowers, roses, like a rose hedge. Customizable, buildable flower beds. So there we go. So a flower bed and customizable. Does that mean F key? Yeah. What color flower, what kind of flowers you want in there. And then what shape you want this thing to be in. Well, it's a cross, but it's really hard to tell on this graphic because the green is making it difficult to see it. Then you've got plants and flowers. So red llama flowers and red oxeye flowers. And just hit a few of them. Bird's nest fern. So you can actually put plant life. What does it cost? It costs 1 log. That's interesting. You'd think it would be a log and some kind of a plant, reeds or something. But a pinky leaf bell flower, what we got over here? I think we got reeds. Yeah, we got reeds you can put in if you want to make your shoreline look a little more of that look. Tulips, white, Asiatic, lots of flowers you can put in. And you're going to find that there's different bushes to put in, different trees to put in. So I'm guessing you can find every tree that is in any of these forests on this list, as well as, what was that called? So fruit trees versus wild trees, what they're calling them. Planter bases, so you can put this on the ground. Let's get, and then you can plant these other plants into those pots and flower areas. Decorative piles and resources. This is interesting. So if you want, a pile of rope out on your dock, if you want storage next to your warehouse of with a chandelier. A chandelier. That just dawned on me. The original chandeliers would have been candles. That gets back to your chandlery. Aha, it's all tying together now. Charcoal pile on the ground outside of your mine. You want to decorate it a little bit. Furnace fuel pile of supplies, barrels, fancy furniture all stacked up next to the furniture warehouse or shop. I don't think what that was called. That wasn't the Cooper, was it? No. Which one was that made that? Anyway, I'm not going to hit all these, but here's some whole pieces. Trying to think of what that would be as part of a ship. What have we got here? An iron pile, a sand pile and some bins, some log pile that you want to sit out somewhere next to the log cart that is over on your plaza. So you can create a lot of things with this game. It's not just a strategy game anymore. Now it can be a role-playing simulation. So decorative crop plants. So all the different crops that are available. This is blackberries, so you can get some blackberries up against the side of your house to make it look good. Now what I don't know is if there's any effect that these have. Some games you'll plant plants so that it'll make people happier. Don't know if these actually have an effect other than just change the aesthetic. Here's peppers. So some pepper plants that aren't going to be, actually I don't know if that's true, that they're not going to be harvested. I wonder if you stuck this next to a pepper field, if they would survive. We'll have to try that one day. All right, then we have decorative animals. So if you want to have a horse outside of that trough of that inn and garden, well, there's your way to do that. It doesn't cost anything, so you can just place these. So I know there was a warning somewhere about using these. Where was it? What do I remember reading? Unless it was on the wiki. Something about getting into the code and deleting the item in a different way because the removal tools won't get rid of the decorative items. I don't remember now. Signposts. There you go. There's a signpost. F. Different kinds of signposts. Now, do those animals have any differences? The different kinds of sheep? No, there aren't. Frogs? Or something bigger. So that is a zebra. Huh. Okay, so town decorations. So you've got a privy. The outhouse. And punishment. If that's the kind of town that you want. There you go. Have that outside your town. Keep those colonists in line. You've got your scarecrow for your crops. Oh, that's neat. I'm so used to playing Banished as a strategy game. It's going to take me a while to get used to going through and using decorations. Stone benches. Hardwood benches. Yeah, so we're going to have to get... I have a feeling, at least for me personally, these are going to be something that I'm going to need to sit there for a while and just stare at it and experiment. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do a lot of these on camera, but mostly turn on the episode and show you what I put together, because I could see me sitting there spending 20-30 minutes trying to figure out just how I want to lay something out, and that's not going to make for great filming, video, let's playing. Large cart, log pile. I've got a small campfire. I've got a fountain. Wow. So, yeah, we're going to have to get into a lot of these things before this series is over and just experiment with it. Okay, here's the warning that I came across. Of course, it's the very last tab. So that's why I didn't come across it yet. Ghost decorations. Very useful for placing literally anywhere on your map. For experienced users only. Flatten terrain before use if desired. These items can be difficult to use and must be removed each time, using each item's own interface. The normal removal tool will not work. So we're talking about street lanterns, but once you click them, they don't. You can't remove them. So using the item's own interface. So I'll have to figure out what that means. We'll pop one of these in somewhere, and then after it's built, go back to it and right-click and what have you, and see if we get more information to come up. Barrels. Oh, it's barrels, casks, and and bags. So hit the F, and there's several things that will come out of this choice to place in different. Yeah, wow, lots of choices. So we're still here. So I don't know what differs between the. Oh, they're called ghost decorations. These same decorations are showing up in the other. Oh, there you go. In the other choices too. What makes these ghost? I don't know. So ghost must mean something code-wise rather than haunting. Must be another use for the word ghost going on here. All right. So your destruction tools. Anything. Destruction and removal. So I don't see anything really that's different in here other than this one, which allows you to collect both stone and ore, since that's usually what you do anyway. You go and you create a forest node. I've lost myself again. And then you remove all the iron and stone out of it so you can just have trees going. So they went ahead and combined them so that you get it all done in one step. And this one is really important. Collect wild foods. So your gatherer goes through and takes all the wild foods out of the forest. If you are facing a food crisis, you can quickly click this and grab all of the wild foods that are growing in there. And the laborers will run out and grab those just like they would have gone in and grabbed all of the stone or iron or wood that you designated. So that your mushrooms and your wild corn. There is still wild corn. I didn't know that. There it is. The previous versions of Colonial Charter were collecting corn out of the woods, and at such quantities that you didn't need to plant corn. I mean, it was coming in huge numbers. This game, I hadn't seen any corn in the gatherer's hut. He's gotten ginger, roots, mushrooms, onions, wild seeds, and berries. No corn. So I wonder if this comes in as wild seeds instead of corn. Don't know. I've seen sunflowers, so I think that's some of your wild seeds. So that's these two buttons. And then you've got your flatten terrain tool, which I've never actually played with. Flattens the terrain, including mountains, trees, instantly destroys all resources. Be careful. Use at your own risk. We're not going to save this map. So flatten. Oh, they've got to go dig it up still. Okay. And this one. So both of these are arrows aiming down. What is the difference? Flattens the terrain. Water and holes come up and mountains go down. So it lifts and drops. Use the removal structures tool to delete yellow icons after the terrain has been flattened. Use this tool very carefully as you cannot undo your action. So what does it do as compared to the other one? Not sure what the difference in the two. This one mentions raising things up. So if I were to do this, it may be that it would bring the water up and bring the land down. So you can, now it said, be careful, you cannot undo your action. You can remove the icons afterwards, after it's done, but you're not going to be able to undo this. So it's a one-time thing and the map is permanently changed. So use cautiously if you're going to do it, especially if you're doing it in a very important place and you end up messing it up, and then it just ruins it for the look that you were trying to create if you do it wrong. So a good thing to practice off on the edge of the map somewhere, when flatten a mountain down and see how that all works, how it interacts with the tiles alongside of it. I mean, what happens when, does this become flat to this? So we're going to cut straight through here and then suddenly have a vertical wall right here. So we got to figure that part out if we ever use it. So with that, we've got basically our load screen here. So I'm going to say we're done with this little rabbit trail. That was supposed to be 1 episode long. I went into 3. But that's all of the buttons, all of the options, all of the menus, all of the different resources, and even the ability to plop all of these items you see on the map in places specifically that you want to put them in. So this one, oh, here we go. So this one requires 5 logs and 5 pecans to build it. So here's a pear tree, and that requires 5 logs and 5 pears to make that one. And all you're going to see is that little space right there until it's built. Unless that is a sapling. Huh, don't know. So that's Colonial Charter mod. Now we've got to use all of these things and try to make a thriving, growing civilization out of it. And that's for next time. So thanks folks for watching. Next episode we get back into our normal gameplay and get back to the fun, but I wanted to give folks who didn't actually have this game on their computer the chance to see all of those little buttons down here that we may never actually ever open up. Now I assume that we're going to open most of them, but there's a possibility that we'll never see a certain 1 or 2 or dozen of these things. So this gives you a chance to see what they actually are and what they do. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.